Today was the day she was supposed to deliver the letters. Not ordinary letters, not bills, invitations, or holiday cards. These were something else entirely. Letters written by people who never finished their stories. Letters discovered inside old attics, bottom drawers, dusty trunks, abandoned post boxes, tucked into library books, hidden inside cracks in walls. Messages that never reached the intended hearts. Elara had inherited the strange task from her late grandmother, Ina Hemsley, the town's unofficial keeper of unfinished words. Ina believed every letter left behind carried a weight, a longing, a fragment of someone's truth that deserved to be heard before time swallowed it completely. Elara never took the duty seriously as a child, but now, standing at the same bridge where her grandmother used to sort lost mail at sunrise, she understood the gravity of the role. There were 313 letters in her satchel today. Some yellowed with age, some crisp and fresh, some tear-stained, some never opened. She closed her eyes, inhaled the cold morning air, and whispered to herself, "Let the stories find where they belong." With that, she began her walk. Chapter 1. The Letter with No Name. The first letter she decided to read was small, folded twice, sealed with a faded red wax stamp. The first letter there was no address, to read was small, no name of sender or recipient, sealed with only one word written on the back in elegant handwriting. No name of sender remember or recipient. She opened it carefully, hoping the fragile paper wouldn't crumble in her hand. Remember, to the one I never had the courage to speak to. If you are reading this, then it means time has finally caught me. I want you to know that meeting you was the quietest miracle of my life. The letter continued, each word dripping with emotion, describing a love so gentle and distant, it almost broke Elara's heart. The writer spoke of a girl he saw at the river every morning, painting birds, humming softly, unaware of his presence. He admired her for years, but never spoke a word. At the end of the letter, a line stood out. "If only I had told you my name before life drifted us apart." Elara folded the letter slowly. Who was this woman? Was she still alive? Did she even know someone once loved her so deeply? She tucked it safely back and continued down the cobblestone path. Chapter 2. The House of Wind Chimes. The first delivery brought her to Rowan Street, where an old wooden house stood with hundreds of tiny chimes hanging from the veranda. Each one sang a different tune whenever the wind brushed past them. Elara knocked. Moments later, the door opened, revealing a small woman with silver hair tied into a bun. She said, "Yes, dear." Elara hesitated, but then handed her a pale blue envelope. "This letter was written 23 years ago. I think it was meant for you." The woman's eyes widened as she took it, her hands trembling. She gasped softly when she recognized the handwriting. "My husband," she whispered. "He wrote this before he passed. I never knew he left another letter." She invited Elara inside to sit. The chimes outside sang a delicate chorus as the woman opened the envelope and read silently. Each sentence seemed to brighten and break her heart at the same time. When she finished, a tear rolled down her cheek, but she smiled. "Thank you," she said. "You've given me a piece of him I never knew I lost." Walking away from the house, Elara felt a warmth spread across her chest. She understood even more deeply now the power of words left behind. Chapter 3. The Boy at the Riverside. Marrowdale was waking up as Elara reached the riverside path. Shops opened, children ran out with school bags, and the bakery filled the air with the comforting aroma of freshly baked bread. It was there she noticed a boy, maybe 12 or 13, sitting alone by the water with a notebook on his lap. He kept flipping through pages angrily, then slamming the book shut, then opening it again. "You okay there?" Elara asked gently. He shrugged. "Can't write anything." "You're a writer?" "No," the boy muttered, cheeks red. "Not really." "I'm not really either, but I'm carrying more stories today than I've written in my whole life." He laughed a little at that. "What are you trying to write?" "An apology to my dad." His voice softened. "He left last year. I want to tell him I wasn't angry, I was just scared." Elara paused, then carefully opened her satchel. She took out a blank envelope and placed it beside him. "Write it anyway. Someone will hear it. Even unfinished letters have wings." The boy stared at her for a long moment, then began writing. Chapter 4. The Train That Never Arrived. The next place she visited was the old train station, a building half overtaken by moss, long abandoned after the railway line was shut down years ago. She had 3 letters addressed to Platform 2. Strange, she thought, but she went anyway. She sat on the broken bench and opened the first letter. "To the stranger who sat beside me on the train that never arrived." It told the story of 2 people who met accidentally when the morning train was delayed. They talked for hours about books, fears, life expectations, heartbreaks. But before exchanging aims, the announcement came that the line was permanently closed due to a landslide. The writer said he never forgot the stranger's smile. Elara felt a tug in her chest. How many connections in the world were lost simply because time wasn't kind enough to let them continue? She placed the letter inside the broken ticket box, the last place the stranger might look if they ever returned. Chapter 5. The Library of Silent Confessions. Marrowdale Library was tall, ancient, and famously dusty. The librarian, Mr. Fernwick, greeted Elara with a warm smile and offered her a cup of tea, even though she always refused. "I found something for you," he said, leading her to the attic. Stacks upon stacks of abandoned letters sat hidden behind shelves, forgotten bookmarks, unsent drafts, secret messages tucked between pages of old novels. Every letter was a life. Every envelope carried a heartbeat. The more she read, the more she felt the weight of everyone's unspoken truths resting on her shoulders, and she welcomed it. Chapter 6. The Man Who Could Not Forget. By late afternoon, Elara visited a house at the edge of town where an elderly man named Orrin Vance lived. He was known as the quietest soul in Marrowdale, a man who rarely spoke but always sat by his window staring toward the mountains. She delivered a letter addressed to him in handwriting older than her parents. When Orrin opened it, his breath hitched sharply. "It's from my brother," he whispered. "I thought he hated me." For the next hour, Orrin told Elara the story of how he and his brother fought 30 years ago and never reconciled. But the letter revealed the truth. His brother had always regretted their last conversation. He was too ashamed to return and too proud to apologize. Orrin cried quietly, his frail shoulders trembling. "If only I had known," he whispered. Elara placed a gentle hand on his. "Sometimes we don't get to fix yesterday, but we can soften the part of us that was hurt." Chapter 7. The Festival of Paper Lanterns. As evening drew close, Marrowdale lit up with lanterns. Today was the annual Festival of Paper Lights, when people wrote messages on lanterns and set them afloat in the river to carry wishes into the night sky. Elara watched families, couples, and children write their messages. She remembered the boy from earlier, wondering if he had finished his letter. She took out one of her grandmother's unfinished letters, the last one Ina ever wrote. It was addressed simply.